In die dritte Partie. Ein junger Kerl aus England wartet, 24 Jahre ist er alt, der World Youth Champion aus dem Jahre 2014, aktuell die Nummer 54 der Welt. Herzlich willkommen, The Needle, Keegan Brown! Bei der Weltmeisterschaft 2012 im Alexandra Palace rückte er in der ersten Runde in den Mittelpunkt, als er damals für eine ganz große Überraschung sorgte und Raymond van Barneveld aus dem Turnier warf. Er, der 43 Jahre alt ist, aktuell auf Weltranglistenplatz Nummer 58 steht. Die Rede ist von Ruthless James Richardson. Und auch den Caller dieser dritten Partie begrüßen wir herzlich, the Puppy George Noble.
Well, a great match between Jamie Lewis and Annie Bolton saw Lewis win in the last leg decider. The youngster prevailed. Will the youngster prevail in this one? Keegan Brown and James Richardson meet for the first time ever here in Mannheim. Richardson's had more success on the European tour probably for the last couple of years than Keegan Brown, but Brown is showing signs of a return to the form that took him to the World Youth Championship trophy that he won a few years ago, and of course a few runs in subsequent major TV events. And a man who knows a thing or two about runs in big TV events, and of course here on the European Tour, is Paul Nicholson.
Thanks, Murph. Do you like Vindaloo?
Bit hot for me, Paul.
Yeah, according to the song, everybody likes Vindaloo, but
First leg, Keegan to throw first. Game on.
Too hot for me as well. I'm a Madras man, but they haven't written any songs about that yet. But they may write songs about the new clippings of Keegan Brown, who
45.
This week had some sort of hairdressing mishap.
He actually did. That's not Paul being unkind.
Вирусная угроза была обнаружена.
Yeah, he went to the barbers, asked for a certain clipping, and they got it wrong, and the only way to fix it was to clip all of it.
He'll have to go to Ryan Meikle in future.
It's not a bad idea, that. Ryan Meikle has actually come out and said that he does despise bad haircuts and bad hygiene, so Keegan, if you just give Ryan a call, he'll probably take his scissors to the Pro Tour. Could, of course, get his hair cut by Joe Wright as well, because she's pretty good.
Yeah, Meikle was given the chop by Darren Webster this afternoon in the game of the day. The last one wasn't too shabby, and this one has the potential to be just as good. Richardson has 170 in front of him.
64.
Good last start. Brown with a practice swing before he approaches the hockey. But yeah, Keegan Brown, Paul, he's reached his first quarter-final on the Pro Tour for 18 months, a couple of months ago, as Richardson looks at double 16.
90.
Also qualified for this and the next European Tour event, so the signs are there that he could be getting back to his form of old.
He's a 60. Oh, what a 60 that is, double 18. Beautiful shot from Keegan Brown. It's about as clinical as the clippers that were on his hair earlier in the week.
He meant that one. But certainly the signs there already, Paul.
They are. I mean, I was in the company of Mervyn King a lot last week. We drove to Maastricht and back, and Mervyn told me that he's been spending a bit of time with Keegan, just giving him a few little pointers about things that maybe would improve his form and his consistency. And funnily enough, after those little chats, he's qualified for this and for reset. And I think what's important, you can appreciate this, Murph, is that when you're on the Pro Tour, you need momentum. And I don't mean that in a sort of a form way, really. I mean, you need to keep playing.
180.
And my sort of proof for that is that there are great players sitting at home all month. They weren't here last week. They weren't in Mannheim. They won't be in Riesa. The next time we'll see them be in Dublin. And not
60.
playing for a month on the Pro Tour is an eternity for these guys. You want to be here and you want to be in Risa.
Especially at this time of year when the previous Pro Tour events were right at the beginning of August.
Correct. Of course, there's only one more qualifier
100.
in the UK all year. It's actually outside of the UK. It's going to be in Dublin. And that's for Göttingen next month.
93.
There's a lot of guys wanting to qualify for that to try and cement their place in the European Championships. Double top for Richardson.
37.
Now, Keegan Steele again.
Yeah, let's see if he can be clinical. Just as he was on the 96. Still possible. Yeah, he did
59.
sneak into the treble 18. The flight blocked our view. Didn't block Keegan's.
20.
I had a sneaky feeling that Keegan might go
32.
double 18 bull, you know. However, double 8 now. Doesn't get it. And they're the kind of chances
Danger required 20.
he really must take. Richardson has not been at his clinical best yet, but he gets away with this one.
Early Keegan to throw first.
Speaking of James Richardson, he showed me that he's got his Maltese rock with him this weekend. A piece of rock
97.
that came to fame at Dusseldorf last season, and he was holding it at the top of the stairs. And it took us
140.
about 36 hours to realise what it was. It was a piece of rock from Malta that if he rubs it on his fingers, he gets really good grip.
42.
And he's got it with him this week.
I think it's become something of a lucky charm as well for James Richardson. For Keegan Brown, Paul, I was having this conversation, the very same conversation, really, about Jamie Lewis with Dan in the last match. Burst onto the scene as a youngster, and then when he made the step up, won a Pro Tour event pretty quickly, won the World Youth Championship, reached the quarterfinals of the Grand Slam,
100.
and then it stopped, didn't it? And as I said, Jamie Lewis, a similar story. What do you think that's down to for these young players who seem to burst on really quickly and then all of a sudden suffer this slump in form?
It's difficult to say because I'm sure every case is different. With Jamie Lewis, he's always been seen as a prodigy in West Wales, all over Wales, in fact.
96.
But I think now we're starting to see the real Jamie Lewis. What has gone before really was a precursor to what we're seeing now.
46.
With Keegan,
129.
I think the same thing's happening. I think you've got to win, then maybe learn to go through a bad patch to see if you can do this.
104. Danger requires 16.
Well, he earned himself that attempt, but he finds himself behind.
James Richardson. Full flag James to throw first. Game on.
There's that Maltese rock. It looks like an out-of-shape panna cotta sitting on top
100.
of that dark case there. Can't say panna cotta with Chris Murphy around. How many sins is that?
57.
It's a good word for a Geordie to pronounce, actually.
Panna cotta.
83.
That's the kind of thing my girlfriend would say. She loves the Geordie accent.
Yeah, I knew there must have been something that they saw in you, Paul.
Anyway,
We love the look of that from Keegan Brown.
we all love the way that George Noble says 180. Will he say it again?
140.
I remember a performance from James Richardson recently, and he had a stack of 180s. He really does when he gets going. Hang on a minute.
140.
Looked bemused as the last start refused to find the treble 20 bed. But an assault on the
94.
Richardson throw, that last start could prove to be vital. With the man nicknamed Ruthless. Bullseye.
99. Danger required 84.
I think he's getting closer to that bullseye. Will he get a poke at the 25? It's the bullseye.
59.
And it's pretty much the same hole
25.
in that 25 that was hit by Richardson. Double 8. Can't afford to miss it this time and doesn't.
Short to the full flag.
That's better from Keegan Brown. The man whose signature colour is that
Full flag,
lovely
Keegan to
blancmange
throw
pink.
first. Game on.
Yeah, you're talking about people bursting onto the scene and how difficult to maintain that. I mean, all you've got to do is look at Mike Van Gerwen, winning the World Masters at 17. Everybody's saying he's going to be a world beater, and then next thing you know, everything becomes difficult. I think at the start of anyone's career, whether they're 16, 17, or even 30, or even older,
99.
they come into the game feeling a little bit naive and a little bit ignorant to a lot of things that happen within the game.
96.
And I think that's a weapon to have. Just go up there and play darts, but when you get to know people, you get to know tactics, and you start thinking a bit too much,
87.
sometimes that can play on your mind. And when you get used to the way that the Pro Tour is, I think you can be a stronger player
60.
after a little bit of misfortune, which has happened for Jamie Lewis, it has happened for Van Gerwen, and it's happened for Keegan Brown. There's nothing to say that these guys will not be world beaters, just like Van Gerwen in the future.
101.
Yeah, and then there are other players that have experienced a slow, subtle rise to the top. A case in point, the man who
140.
will face the winner of this match, Daryl Gurney, who is really at the top of his game right now.
38.
Keegan Brown couldn't find the double at the top of the board. Richardson will get a dart at the same target.
He's got to be careful here. He's gone way over. It was the right thing to do because his darts are so upright. Can he do the double switch right to the top?
40.
That's why he moved in the first place.
Keegan, you require 40.
Tops for Keegan. Oh, the first two, he will admit, were nowhere near, but the third one breaks the heart of Richardson. It's a 3-2 lead for Keegan Brown of the Yellow White.
Just explain for us, Paul, how difficult that third dart would have been to execute for James Richardson, having stepped so far over that he's effectively throwing from a distance further away.
He is indeed, because he can't go over the straight line that is the oki. The oki could potentially be curved, but it's not. It's a straight line. Now, constantly moving like that for someone like James Richardson is not a good thing, because he's a rhythm player. He's constantly moving. Look at his action. Nothing stops. So when he does move, he has to stop, and that would have been very hard.
Yeah, so he'd had to throw the dart at a different way to what he practices for all the time, which is why he really didn't have the gas to even land in the board.
Well, effectively, he's throwing 3 first darts for him, because he's reset twice and stood in 3 different positions, and all at different lengths. Very hard to execute that, like you said.
The treble here would apply some pressure, not found.
116.
So a simpler finish for Richardson. No need to move around. Well, he does slightly step across.
76. Keegan, you got 140.
Maybe just hedging his bets a bit, just in case there was any sort of deflection possible there.
I just felt the first dart may have well been out of the way. It was to the left of the 20 segment.
95.
But he's got a clear shot this time, Paul.
He has. Is he going to do what Keegan's just done and hit it with a third dart? He's
35.
not. And now, Keegan smells blood. Tops for him. It's brilliant. It's a 4-2 lead for Keegan Brown.
Keegan to throw first.
He keeps getting chances like this and keeps winning. He might get the same haircut again, to the chagrin of his wife, Roz, who apparently, when she saw it, didn't speak to him for about 7 hours. Well, qualifying for both of these guys was a little bit different for James Richardson. He only had 2 games. He was involved in a right ding-dong with Brian Woods, where he overcame Pekka by 6 games to 5.
100.
And then he had Richie Edhouse, beat him 6-0. Some victory. Richie Edhouse, very, very good player. But Keegan, he had a 6-0 against Ryan Palmer, left-hander from the West Country. And then he took out 2 real stalwarts of the game.
180.
Wayne Jones 6-5 and Painter 6-5.
Well, the 180 from James Richardson has given him much more of a chance to get himself back in the match, because he only needs 1 treble in this visit for a dart at the bullseye. And he's got it. Oh, and he's
96,
moved the
Keegan
ball.
Brown,
That
24.
is so unlucky for James Richardson. But
It's
Keegan
on to the
Brown
7th flag, Keegan
has
Brown.
no sympathy.
Affect James to throw first.
None
Game on.
whatsoever, and he shouldn't have. What are the times over the course of a season? I don't know how you feel about this, Chris, but the apology for hitting a double, can't stand it. I want it out of the game. I want people to be ruthless, much like James Richardson's nickname.
98.
You're up there to hit doubles, so don't apologise for doing your job. And there it is.
55.
That's the reason why James Richardson is not level with Keegan or even in front. He will admit that his doubles
80.
have let him down tonight, and Keegan's got a bit of maintenance to do. He's just absolutely annihilated that stem.
Well, he's outscoring him. James Richardson outscoring Keegan Brown by
57.
a good 6 visits of over 100.
That's how good Keegan Brown is. He didn't even have a flight in that dart, and he managed to smash the stem up. And the end of that stem's about 1/16th the size of the bullseye.
96.
He looks focused, Keegan Brown, and it's a nice sight to see,
82.
because there have been times when he's looked under some duress on the stage and not throwing as firm as he is today. I saw a game at the
102.
Grand Slam a couple of years ago and the darts just would not stay in the board. I don't know if it was a technique action or an equipment problem. But none of that today, and he could be on the verge of victory here.
Bullseye. That's a good leave.
93.
18's, of course, a good route because it left 107, and he went a very smart route there. Didn't go the bullseye like 9 out of 10 players would, but Keegan goes his own way.
102.
Now he's sitting on the verge of victory.
32.
Yeah, it's not a route you see often, but Keegan Brown does go his own way. Only one way for that one, though. Keegan Brown will be back in town tomorrow. A 6-2 victory for the Needle against James Richardson, who will head home from the German Darts Grand Prix. Brown will be back to take on Daryl Gurney, and he's enjoyed that performance. He's enjoying that win. He moves through, and we're going to catch a word with a man from the Isle of Wight with Elmar Polka in just a few seconds' time, and then after that, a game between two players who impressed last week in the Dutch Darts Masters. Stay tuned for Christoph Ratajski against Robert Owen.
Daryl Gurney sein, der Nummer 6 der Setzliste, hier von Mannheim, dem Nordiren. Keegan, congratulations. Happy with your game? I'm sure with the win, probably not with your game.
Yeah, the first 4 legs were a bit scrappy. I went with throw and then against throw, but James is a solid contender, so I know what I need to, do to, to beat him as such. But it's hard to play a good friend and a friendly face more than anything. But I just have to win.
Yeah, that's cool. Daryl Gurney is waiting. Applaus für James Richardson. He's playing pretty strong the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, the thing with Daryl, you know he's going to be consistent. You know what you need to do. Like if you're playing Michael, Gary, Phil, Adrian. So I now know what to do.
That's good. We're looking forward to that. Thank you very much. Keegan Brown. Er freut sich auf das Match morgen gegen Daryl Gurney. Er sagt, er weiß, wie er gegen die ganz Großen spielen muss. Wenn du konstant spielst, hast du da auch vielleicht eine Chance. Heute spielte er gegen einen guten Kumpel. Jetzt holt er sich noch kurz den Stift, um die Schilder zu unterschreiben. Das gefällt mir gut.